Okay, yay! Hi everyone, thank you for coming. My name is Tao and I am a modern buttercream cake artist. So today I'm going to do something slightly different to what you might be used to at cake shows. And I want to tell you a story. So November 2013, this was 11 years ago now. I was a very enthusiastic but very novice baker. One of my friends was getting married at the time and I was the maid of honor. And then she goes, okay, can you make me a wedding cake? And I said, as any of you would, I'm sure, I said, sure, I'll make you a wedding cake. Now, mind you, my approach at the time was a couple of YouTube videos and throw spaghetti at the walls until something sticks, all right? So I had no idea about making cakes, but I had a lot of enthusiasm. So I thought, whenever someone asks me, do you want to make me something? I'm like, yep, it's an opportunity for me to practice my skills, right? One piece of advice 11 years later, don't do that, okay? If you want to practice, make a practice cake, but don't use someone's wedding to practice. So, this friend of mine, actually, my style has always been, less is more. Clean designs, clean lines. The least I can put on the cake, the better. If you know me, you know that, right? So this friend of mine was a more is more kind of person. So her wedding was green and purple, bright green and purple. So as you can imagine, the process of me trying to come up with a design for her was painful, right? I try to give her pastel greens and pastel purple. She's like, that's so bland. And then, I'm like, well, how about we just put a flower here and a flower there? And she's like, no, I need more. That looks too boring. So we butted heads a lot throughout the design process. And eventually, we compromised. And I made this. You see it? I'm not going to show the camera, but you can see it. Okay. Yeah, you can't really tell, right? So this was a fondant cake, right? Didn't look bad, did it? Not for a beginner. Now that top tier was the only real cake, because if you know Asian weddings, they don't really serve cakes, so it's just for looks. Anyway, so that's the only real cake. All of that was fake. That's all fondant, right? And as you know, I had no idea. So in true classic beginner fashion, I pulled an all-nighter. I was the maid of honor, don't forget. So for a Vietnamese wedding, right, I had to be at her house at 9. No, the ceremony started at 9. So I had to be there, get ready for a start at 9. And then there was a church ceremony at 3 and then a night reception at 6, right? So I had all of that ahead of me and I pulled an all-nighter to put this together. I got there at 8:30. Everyone else had their hair and makeup done, so, I don't know how I survived, but went along. So in between those 3 ceremonies, I had to somehow go back home still, pick up the cake, bring it to the reception, set up the table. So all of that for this, okay? I did it. Didn't sleep, didn't eat for 48 hours, but doesn't matter. I've done it, okay? So 2 days later, I went to see her to collect the cake stands because that's also mine. I lent it to her. I'm like, oh, where's the cake stand? And she said, I don't know. I don't know where it is. Okay, fine. I'll give you the cake stand. Like, did you eat the cake at least? How was it? Oh, my family probably ate it. I don't know. All right. So because these were all fake tears, right? So I wanted to take them back because it took me so long. All I had to do was put another fake tear on top and then I can use it as a showcase cake. So where are the rest of the cakes? I'll take it back. Oh, I didn't realise. I threw it in the bin. Yeah, it still hurts me till this day. All right, so I've been making cakes for 11 years now. And I've been teaching students to cake smarter, not harder for 8 years. So from my experience and from the hundreds of stories that I hear from my students, one thing's clear to me, and that is all the efforts that we put into baking and making cakes are rarely worth it. Okay, I said this to my husband and he chuckled because he baked once a year and he still feels that. Okay, it's should have brought him here today actually. So the hours and the days and the money and the time we put into coming up with ideas, honing our skills, learning the skills, right? Sourcing ingredients, sourcing supplies, and then days of baking, decorating, cleaning up, okay? Oh, that's where I brought my daughter's counting tools, okay? You guys would have seen me set up and thought, why is she bringing frogs to a cake demo? Okay, so let's say all that hard work of buying ingredients, learning how to make a cake, baking, cleaning up, okay, add a frog for backache, okay, lack of food, lack of sleep, whatever else that aches on your body, all for what, okay? 2 minutes at the end of someone smiling at you and say, thank you. All right? If you're lucky, you bring it to a party, they'll go, oh my God, that is amazing. Did you make that? And that's it, 2 minutes of glory, okay? All of that for that. Now, that doesn't seem like a fair deal to me, does it? Okay. Now, this is where I think we've gone wrong. So, most people place a lot of importance and emphasis on the end product, right? The thing is, the end product being, does it look good? How do I make it? How do I make it look good? Does it taste good? Do people like it? Now, the end product is something that you can actually not control. You could deliver the most stunning wedding cake and you'll never hear from that client again. Not a single word. Okay, you could make the most delicious cake and someone will tell you, that's too sweet. Okay, and then you could spend 20 minutes mixing the perfect shade of pink and then your client will go, it's not the right pink. So, if 2 minutes of glory in which you feel good about yourself, it's all that you get in exchange for hours and days of hard work. And it's not even guaranteed, right? Why do we do it? So, what I believe is it shouldn't be about the end product, okay? You shouldn't feel good only just having made the cake, right? It should be about the process. So, if you should feel inspired, creative, happy, satisfied during the process, okay? And then if at the end someone likes it, that 2 minutes of endorphins that you get from them liking it, that's just a bonus, okay? But we can't just go through all of this just for that fleeting 2 minutes that's not even guaranteed. So, how do we do that? How do we ensure that the process is something that gives us everything that we need, right? When we're at the mercy of recipes, of instructions and tips and hacks from other people. So this is where I can help. This is where my Cake Smarter, Not Harder approach can help you eliminate the time-wasting tasks, right? The backache, the headaches, the stress, all of that. And when you take all of that out, creativity, confidence, right, enjoyment, I'm just going to put them on until this balances, right? Self-belief. All of that is now going to make it worth it, all right? It's still going to take you 3 days. But if you get all of this on this side, then those 3 days is worth it, okay? Does that make sense? Does that sound good? So it's really, really easy. Do you want me to tell you how it works? Okay, so my Cake Smarter, Not Harder approach only has 2 principles. It's very easy. If you walk away from here today you'll be able to implement it straight away, all right? And you'll see massive, drastic changes. Principle number 1, I forgot about these. I'm doing my presentation so old school. So let's see. Principle number 1, think like a 4-year-old, okay? Ask why. So my daughter is 4, and if I had $1 for every time she asked me why, I'd be a millionaire by now, okay? So that's what I want you to employ. Mum, why is the sky not blue today? Oh, it's because the clouds covering it, right? It's still blue, there's just clouds in the sky. But why are the clouds covering the sky? It's endless. But you need to think about what the recipe's telling you to do from that perspective. Don't just blindly follow instructions. Think or ask why, okay? When you ask why, then you're presented with opportunities to find out the science and the reasons behind the techniques or the recipe, and that will give you the power to know when things go wrong, and you will be able to troubleshoot yourself, all right? You're not gonna go and ask this person for advice, that person for advice. So I'll demonstrate what that means. Here's an example of how you can ask why. Okay, so let's say you come to me and you say, Tao, what's your recommendation for food colouring? What do you like to use? And I'll say, I like to use Colour Mill oils, okay? And then you go away and you go on the Colour Mill website and you buy some oils, and then that's it, right? That's where you stay. Now, what if you go, why? Why do you want to use Colour Mill oils? This is what I'll tell you, okay? So when it comes to food colouring, let's look at the science, okay? There's oils or fat and water, okay? So I've got oil here and I've got water here just to do a demonstration for you. Just remember this, oil or fats and water, most of you would know this by now, right? It's like grade 1 science. They don't like to mix. Okay? So, that's the principle. I'm a buttercream cake artist, so my main medium is buttercream. What's buttercream mainly of? Butter, fat, right? So, if we've got buttercream that is fat, and then we've got an oil-based food colouring, doesn't have to be Colour Mill, it could be anything. But if you know that the colouring is oil-based, you know that it will mix seamlessly, right? So then that's it. You'll never have to come back to me for advice again, because the next time you work, right? Okay, one more thing. If you were making isomalt is sugar. When you prepare isomalt, it's isomalt and a little bit of water. Okay, so that's water-based. If you put oil colouring in isomalt, it will do that. So when you do isomalt, what you need is a water-based colouring, right? So having that knowledge of why now, right? You'll go to the Colour Mill stand and you'll see there's oil-based products and there's a range called Aqua Blend. And the Aqua Blend is just another name for your gel, which is water-based. So next time you go to bake cookies, you bake anything, just look, okay, is it fat or is it water-based? And then you'll find that you'll be able to just select the right colourings for it, and you'll never need to ask advice about food colouring again. Okay, so that's one example of asking why. So principle number 1, what is it? Think like a 4-year-old. Have the curiosity to ask why, okay? So don't just follow instructions blindly. That's it, very simple. Now the second principle, there's only 2. So the second one, and it's one that I think a lot of us don't even think about when we make cakes. Okay, and this was me a lot. And this is the second principle, right? Value yourself, okay? And that means your time, your mental, and your physical well-being, Okay, so when it comes to valuing yourself, there are two questions that I want you to ask. One, do I have to do this? Right? Because not everything in your recipes and in your instructions you have to do. Okay, so ask yourself, one, do I have to do this? And then number two, how do I make this easier, quicker, or better for myself? Okay, and that's all the two questions I want you to ask. So now I'm going to give you an example. Who here has done this or are still in this position where you go into a kitchen, let's say you're making cupcakes, right? You're making 18 cupcakes and you have no bloody idea how much buttercream you need to make for it. Hands up if you've ever been in this position. Okay, so every time you come into the kitchen, you're a little bit nervous because you're like, oh, you know, I might make too much today. And then sometimes you just wing it and then you're one cupcake short, right? Sometimes the stars align and somehow you make enough. But it's just all heart palpitations every time. It's not good for your mental health. It's cortisol's releasing, all right? So it's stressful. So what we do when we start valuing ourselves, question number one, do we have to do that? Obviously no, okay? We don't have to guess every time. Now, how do I make it easier, quicker, or what's better for myself? Okay, so this is what I want you to do. I even brought my scale here today. So let's say we're making cupcakes. I don't actually have any cupcake. Let's say this is a cupcake, okay? So the next time you make whatever regular size cupcake you make, you put that on, you press tear. You get your buttercream, you do your swirls, whatever you'll normally do to a cupcake, and then you check the weight of that. Oh my God, yes! That's all you have to do. Get your notebook out, write that down, stick it on your forehead, stick it on the walls, whatever you do, now you've got the number for one cupcake. So the next time you want to make 21 cupcakes, sure, right? One cupcake, sure. And that's all you have to do. Now, if it was a cake, you do the same thing. So at the start, you've got your cake board, then you've got your layers, right? You pop that on, you press tear, right? Actually, press tear first, and then put that on. I want you to weigh the board and the cake. So you want to record the weight of that down, right? And then just go back, fill it, do whatever you normally do, go back and weigh that now with the filling. So the difference between the first and the second weight is the amount you need to fill that size. Again, write that down, 6-inch, 300 grams for filling. That's once that you have to do for that size. So over time, you'll have, you know, all the sizes that you need. Okay, again, take that away, fill it the way that you do it, put it back on. Now the difference between the third weight and the second weight is what you need to cover. So over time, you'll have a chart of the size, the filling, and the covering, and the next time you come into the kitchen, you'll never feel nervous again because now you know exactly what you're doing, right? It's that simple. So I'll give you another example, okay? So that is valuing your time, obviously, because that's going to cut down a lot of guessing time in the kitchen, but it's also valuing your mental health because you're not going to be stressing over the amount of what you need to make, okay? So I'll give you another example. Now, who here stands up to cake in the kitchen? Who stands up to cake? Ah, one or two? Okay, so if you make cakes, you know that it's really time consuming, but also really hard on the body, okay? When I used to make cakes for weddings and stuff, I'd do 10 hours, 12-hour days, and I'd come home and my feet would kill me. And I was like 26 at the time. I'm like, I feel like I'm 80, you know? I can't do this for another 10 years. Do we have to stand to make cakes? No. But do you know why people stand to make cakes? I think, I haven't verified this, but I think it's because when you work in a bakery, right, your boss don't want you to sit down, start feeling lazy and, you know, take your time. So they want you to stand up because you need to be on your feet all the time, make as many cakes as possible. But when we're at home, We don't need to do that. We don't need to put our body through so much stress and strain and aches and pains just to do the cakes, all right? So I want you to go home, pull out a stool, a kitchen bar stool, and sit down next time you make a cake, okay? You just have it there. If you need to run around, yeah, pull it away, but just have one there so that you have the option of sitting down. But also, this is the benefit of sitting down. Okay, let's say I'm making a cake, all right? I'm trying to cover it. So I'm trying to get, you know, a smooth side and sharp edges and stuff. This is what a lot of people do, okay? Tell me if you do this. Is this you? I'm not that tall, but I've seen people that are much taller than me do this. Is this you? Okay, so if you do this day in, day out, what does it do to your neck, right? This is why you come home at night with a strained neck. But also, if you want to get a straight cake, your perception of straight needs to be straight first. So you need to be straight, right? If you're looking from this angle, yeah, you think you're doing straight, but the whole cake's leaning this way because, oh, I'm straight, but you're not straight. So what sitting down helps you do, I'm not sitting down, but even when I don't have a chair, I squat because I need my back to be straight, right? I need my perception of the cake to be straight. Can you see me squat? So I need to see the cake from this angle to know that what I'm doing is straight. And then I just scrape, all right? So not only will it save your feet, it will also give you a better result. And that's quicker, smarter, none of that fluff, okay? Okay, so what I wanted to show you today, right, is just those two principles. Obviously, these principles have allowed me to develop really efficient recipes and cake making processes that have helped a lot of people, you know. But you don't have to take my courses to achieve the result, right? When you walk away from today, all I want you to think about are the three questions. So the two principles. Number one, what is it? Okay, think like a 4-year-old. Ask why, okay? Start asking why about everything. Obviously, you know, not every single step in the recipe because you'll be there for days. But once something starts feeling a little bit hard, a little bit like, oh, why can't I get this right? Right? Start asking why. And two, start valuing yourself. Don't think about the end product, think about the process and start valuing yourself. So what's number two? Principle number two, I just gave you value yourself. So how do you do that? What are the two questions I want you to ask? One, do I have to do this? Okay, ask that for everything. Do I really have to do this? And then two, how do I make this quicker, easier, and better for me? Okay? If your body doesn't ache, right, you enjoy it more. If you don't stress, you enjoy it more, right? If you make mistakes and you know how to correct it because you have the foundation knowledge, you enjoy it more. And if you enjoy it, then it's all worth it, right? So I want you to go away and remember that. And if there's a cake friend that you think needs to hear this, please share it for them. I have a camera here, which means it's recording me today. So I'll make it available for free on my website really soon. So if you haven't yet, follow Don't Tell Charles and you'll know when that's available. Share it with as many cake friends as possible. And thank you.